All right, so, you forwarded something over this week that kind of just stopped me dead in my tracks.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it was one of those things, you're scrolling through the news and then suddenly it's like, bam, this headline just hits you right between the eyes, about a Delhi High Court judge,
Uh-huh.
this guy Yashwant Varma, and there's a fire. And get this, apparently they found a crazy amount of money, like 15 crore rupees.
No kidding.
Yeah, that's like 150 million.
Yeah.
Just in burnt cash right there at his house.
Sounds like a movie.
It does, right?
Yeah.
Like straight out of some thriller novel.
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to try to do in this deep dive is really get into this insane situation.
Right.
Look past that initial what the heck moment and unpack all the different claims, what Justice Varma is saying in response, and then try to figure out, what's really going on here.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, where does the story actually hold up and where does it start getting kind of shaky? And then also, like, what could this mean, in the bigger picture? Honestly, some of this stuff is just wild.
I'll say. Wild is a good word for it.
All right.
When you first told me about this, even just the idea of it was crazy.
Yeah.
Like a high court judge, right? With that much money that's supposedly like unaccounted for, all found after a fire, it's definitely something that makes you want to know more.
Oh, yeah, totally. It immediately makes you question things like, is this guy legit? What's the deal here?
Exactly.
But then the way Justice Farmer reacted that was interesting, too. It wasn't some kind of weak, no, I didn't do it kind of thing. It was like, boom, direct and strong statement right to Chief Justice D.K. Upadhyay on March 22nd. He wasn't messing around, calling it a straight-up conspiracy to frame and malign him. That's some serious language.
It is. It's not subtle at all.
Not at all. It's like he's saying, this is a direct attack on me, not just some little oops or misunderstanding.
Yeah, and when you actually start looking into what he's saying, the specifics, it really paints a different picture than that first shocking headline.
For sure.
Like, think about where they supposedly found this cash.
Yeah.
Not like in his main house, not tucked away in a safe or anything, but in an outhouse. Like, basically a storage room for junk near where the staff live.
Oh, wow.
Just picture that for a sec. It's the kind of space where you'd find like broken chairs, old newspapers, holiday decorations that nobody's touched in years.
Right, right.
The idea that someone, and especially a judge, would hide that much money. We're talking enough rupees to fill a small room. In a spot like that, it's really hard to believe.
It's a pretty ridiculous image, isn't it? Like all this cash just tossed in with old paint cans and whatever else.
Exactly.
And here's another thing that Justice Varma brought up. Nobody who was actually there saw any actual cash. Like there weren't any burnt up bags of money or anything. None of his family, his staff. Nobody who would have known if that much money was around said they knew anything about it. It's like saying you found a buried treasure in your backyard, but you don't have any pictures. Nobody saw you digging it up. It's just your word.
That's a great point. To me, that's the biggest part of Justice Varma's defense. He's not just saying the money isn't his. He's saying the whole story doesn't even make sense.
Yeah.
There's no proof that any money was ever there.
Yeah. And then there was that whole thing about a video going around.
Oh, right, right.
Supposedly some visual evidence. But Justice Varma said he saw the video, and even if it is real, even if it was taken right after the fire, he says it doesn't show anyone finding or taking 15 crore rupees. So even the so-called proof doesn't actually show what people are saying.
Interesting.
It's like he's saying, show me the money.
Right. Where's the actual evidence?
Exactly, and nobody can.
And then there's the matter of his alibi.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
He's very clear that he and his wife weren't even in Delhi when this fire happened. They were coming back from a trip to Bhopal.
On an Indigo flight, I think he said.
That's right, on March 15th. So if this all went down while they were out of town, it really throws a wrench in the whole idea that he was hiding this cash at his house. Unless there's some explanation we haven't heard, the timeline just doesn't work.
Makes sense. So then the big question is, if it wasn't Justice Varma and his family who found all this money, then who did? That's where things get even weirder. Who would found it and why would they say it was connected to him? It really makes you wonder what's going on.
It does. It makes you suspicious for sure.
Definitely. And the timing of all this is a little fishy too, right? The Supreme Court Collegium had just recommended that Justice Varma get transferred back to the Allahabad High Court. And then the Chief Justice of India starts an investigation into this whole mess. You can't help but think, did these accusations come out before the transfer or after? It's all a bit too convenient, don't you think?
It does seem like there's a lot happening all at once. When you think about how these things usually work in the court system, it makes you wonder if these are really separate events or if there's something else going on that we don't know about.
Yeah, exactly. It makes you think about how independent things really are when you've got these serious accusations flying around. And It's almost like Justice Varma knew people would think this way. He basically says, who in their right mind would believe that someone would keep that much money in a dusty old storeroom?
Yeah, I remember that. He's pointing out how illogical the whole thing is.
Totally. It's like, come on, that's not how you hide a fortune.
It's like, if you had that much money that you had to keep secret, wouldn't you put it in a super high-tech safe?
Right.
Maybe even keep it somewhere else entirely, not at your house.
Exactly. You wouldn't just toss it in with a bunch of junk. That doesn't make any sense.
Not at all. And Justice Varma says this isn't even the first time something like this has happened. He brings up an old FIR from 2018, and then there's that whole thing on social media not too long ago.
Oh, yeah.
He thinks this is just the latest attempt to make him look bad.
So he's saying there's a pattern here, like people are out to get him.
Exactly. Which makes you wonder who those people might be and what they want.
Yeah, and why him? Like, what's the motivation? And makes a really good point, too. When you're a judge, your reputation is everything. Even if these accusations are totally false, even if it all gets cleared up, the damage is already done.
That's true. It's hard to come back from something like this.
People will always wonder, will they ever really trust him the same way again?
It makes you think about how fragile a reputation can be, especially for someone in his position.
For sure. So here's where we are. We've got these really serious accusations, but there's not much proof. And then we have Justice Varma who's saying this is all made up.
Uh-huh.
So what's the truth? Is this all just a crazy misunderstanding?
It's possible.
Or is it like Justice Varma says and someone's trying to take him down?
That's the other possibility. It's hard to say for sure right now with what we know.
Yeah, and that's the thing. This isn't over yet. The Supreme Court is still looking into it all. We don't know what they'll find.
Exactly. We got these claims and denials, but no real answers.
It's real cliffhanger.
Yeah, it is. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens next.
So you see what I mean? It started out as this simple story about a fire, and now it's like this whole conspiracy thriller.
Yeah, totally.
We came into this deep dive hoping to get some answers, and well, we don't have all of them yet. But we've definitely learned a lot about the weird kind of... without having any real proof.
That's a good question.
And what does that mean for how people see the courts? When these kinds of stories hit the news, it makes you wonder, can we trust the system?
Definitely. It makes you think about the bigger picture for sure.
It does. This whole thing is still unfolding, and it's a good reminder that sometimes things aren't always what they seem. You got to look past the headlines and really dig into the details before you decide what's true.
Couldn't agree more.
I hope this deep dive helped clear some things up about this whole curious case of the burnt cash, and maybe it'll make you think a little bit more about how our justice system works.
Me too. It's a story that definitely makes you think.
Thanks for joining me on this one. It's cases like this that really remind us why we do these deep dives.
Absolutely. It's fascinating and important to really get into the details.
All right, till next time, folks, stay curious.
And stay informed.